Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're talking about my Week 2 tight end starter sets for the 2019 fantasy football season. On today's episode, we're going to be going over my top 12 tight ends on the week and talking fantasy football. So without further ado, let's get right into that. But before we do, I want to reiterate what I said in the quarterback video for those of you who haven't watched that. Thank you, all of you, for supporting the channel and getting us to the 8,000 subscriber mark. It's absolutely incredible. And for those of you who haven't already, pancake block that subscribe button and keep getting this momentum going. Maybe 9,000 is a possibility. I'm hoping so. Thank you again for all of you who have subscribed and joined the community and supported the channel. All right. Hey, guys, how's it going? So, top 12 tight ends. It's a pretty simple concept. This is not a long video. And it really shouldn't be a long video because majority of you only own one of these said tight ends. Typically, there would be maybe 14 names applicable on this list. Unfortunately, Hunter Henry's out with an injury, patella fracture. And I didn't want to put 13 tight ends on this list. The number 13 bothers me. Therefore, Vance McDonald's not on this list. Could potentially be the number 12 or the number 11 spot. But for now, we're just going to leave Vance McDonald off because I didn't want to put 13 names on this. I don't know. The number 13 bothers me, and it just seems like bad luck. But we're going to just really quickly go through my top 12, give you my thought process on each of these tight ends, and that's pretty much it. That's all we need to do. The tight end position is pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Many of you might have picked up a guy like Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, Hockenson, and potentially have one of these other tight ends, I did the quarterbacks earlier. That's why I'm mixed up. O.J. Howard. You might have Jared Cook. You might have Austin Hooper. You might have David Njoku. And maybe one of these new sexier names are on your roster. I personally would play them this week. They got the hot hand, and they've got pretty good matchups. But we'll talk about that. All right, starting with number 1, because we don't need to talk about tight end matchups because, again, not enough sample size. If you guys want, we could take a look at it, and we'll just do that really quickly. Just look at it. I mean, the Falcons, 0 points. And the Miami Dolphins, all the points. It's really not going to end up being like this. It really isn't. And really, I mean, let's be honest. The Patriots don't have a tight end at this point. But just giving you kind of a perspective. If Jordan Reed's healthy, though, that's also another that could be thrown on this list. Possibly, if he plays. But Vernon Davis has looked good over the last couple of years for the Washington Redskins. And if he's not ready to go, then they'll fill in. But these are the tight end matchups. We just wanted to go ahead and go over that really quickly. But off to number 1, Travis Kelce has to be the number 1. You play against the Raiders. There's no Tyreek Hill. The secondary and cornerbacks, the safety and the cornerbacks for the Raiders, they're out. There's no, I think Jonathan Abrams gone. One of their corners was on a stretcher on Monday night, taken off the field. Travis Kelce is going to be successful in this matchup. He's my number 1 forever. Unless somebody else can somehow take the throne, Travis Kelce's number 1. Moving on to number 2, George Kittle. George Kittle should have had an 18-point week last week. Fortunately, a couple penalties, got some touchdowns called back. George Kittle is still literally the number 1 option on that offense. Before running backs, before receivers, before Jimmy Garoppolo. All they want to do is give George Kittle the ball, and that's why you have to start him forever and ever. Even if he's on a bye week, I'd put him in. Just do it. Why not? His energy, his aura will help your fantasy team. Moving on to number 3, Zach Ertz. I know he had a really rough week 1, but into this matchup against the Atlanta Falcons, sure, the Atlanta Falcons didn't let Kyle Rudolph or Irv Smith do anything. That's not the point. The Vikings did not throw the ball. They threw the ball 10 times. 8 completions. Some were to Thielen, some were to Stephon Diggs, some were to Dalvin Cook. That was it. Plain and simple. Nobody else caught the ball. So, as of right now, Zach Ertz should be played 100%. I don't care what you're thinking. He needs to be in your lineup. Put him in. Moving on to number 4, Evan Engram. Woo! Evan Engram, that bold prediction of him being a top 3 tight end. There's a possibility, guys. I'm telling you, anytime there's no Odell Beckham in this Giants offense, he becomes the pseudo number 1 wide receiver, even before Sterling Shepard. And from what we saw last week, the way that they didn't really want to use Saquon Barkley very much, if the Bills go ahead and take a fat lead in the beginning, Evan Ingram's still going to have to stretch the field and make some plays. He's my number 4. Moving on to number 5, Delanie Walker, the thumbnail. It's insane. Okay, you know what I was actually thinking? Tight end Titan. Kind of close, right? Maybe the Titans like to throw the tight ends. Make sense? All right. It's a joke. Okay, relax. All right. I need you to calm down. All right. Don't X out the video. Just relax. Okay. We're talking about Delanie Walker. He's on the thumbnail for a reason. The guy, after coming off of an Achilles injury, after playing in the league for how long, still somehow manages to be the number one wide receiver or receiving option of Marcus Mariota. I mean, he is the go-to. He is the security blanket for Mariota. He is the, Zach Ertz to Carson Wentz. He's the Cooper Kupp to Jared Goff. As of right now, Delanie Walker should be started without a doubt in my mind. Going up against the Colts, not really worried about matchups because as long as Mariota is looking for him, he's going to be fantasy relevant, and that's why he's my number 5. Moving on to number 6, Mark Andrews. Playing against the Cardinals. After what I saw TJ Hockenson do to the Cardinals on not too many targets anyway, he was still able to gash that defense. Why not Mark Andrews? Now, here's the conversation for why Mark Andrews could be less valuable than he was last week. Miami Dolphins defense, sure. Lamar Jackson was able to comfortably play and see no pressure up front. That could change against Chandler Jones and Terrell Suggs. That could be a little bit of a difference maker. But Mark Andrews, comparatively to all other tight ends on the Ravens, had the least amount of offensive snaps. Hayden Hurst and Nick Boyle, if I'm not mistaken. Is it Boyle? I could probably confirm that. Let me go and see here. I'm going to look it up because we're talking about fantasy football. Why not? In terms of snap counts, where are we with the Baltimore Ravens? Who else had more snaps than him? Hayden Hurst and Nick Boyle. Each had 43 offensive snaps, while Mark Andrews only had 32 offensive snaps. He only played 42% of the offensive snaps against the Miami Dolphins. Now, majority of his damage was done early in the game, so I can go ahead and wipe that off, and that's why Mark Andrews sits at 6. But just take into account that another tight end could score a touchdown, and you shouldn't be surprised about it because they like to use the tight end position so much in Baltimore in their offensive schemes, especially as lead blocks and receiving options, that Mark Andrews could end up getting vultured by another tight end. But I don't think that'll be the case considering just how much Lamar Jackson likes to target him. Moving on to number 7, Darren Waller. You've done it, Darren Waller. You have somehow managed to become a top tight end in 1 week's time because AB disappeared. You had 30% of the offensive target share. You played all 55 offensive snaps, and you get to play against the Kansas City Chiefs in week 2 outside of a Tyrell Williams running the ball to Josh Jacobs or throwing the ball to Darren Waller. There's no other option for this Raiders. So Darren Waller going forward is, and him and Mark Andrews and Hockenson, 3 young tight ends, going to look to have a pretty good 2019 season. As a guy that was a sleeper for majority of this offseason, he's finally, it's come to fruition, and it's going to be a pretty fun, exciting season. For those of you who have him, if he's on your bench and you have a better tight end, go trade him because you can even wait this week, and just let him get more value because he's going to see a lot of targets against this Kansas City Chiefs defense. And if he could put up another 10 points, you can absolutely sell that to someone in your league who is struggling to find tight end help. Moving on to number 8, TJ Hockenson, playing against the Chargers. Now, the difficulty is going to be how many targets and how many receptions he'll get on a weekly basis because there are so many mouths to feed. If, for example, the Lions come out and they want to run the ball heavily because the running game is working and they're up because of an early touchdown, and game script-wise, they want to go ahead and run the clock out, it could hurt Hockenson. But from what I was able to see, he's going to be implemented and used in this offense heavily. They want to use him as a Gronk. They want to pretty much emulate a New England Patriots offense over there, and they want him to be the Gronk of it. So going forward, Hockenson should be a good option at the tight end position. Moving on to number 9, O.J. Howard. Had a tricky week 1. Didn't look good. Here's my concern. You play in a short week against the Carolina Panthers, and Cameron Brate is getting too many offensive snaps. Plain and simple. Cameron Brate is playing too much. Obviously, I had the issue with Mark Andrews and Hayden Hurst and Nick Boyle playing more than him. But the thing was, I think Cameron Brate had 2 receiving touchdowns called back. So when Jameis is getting down to the red zone, not only is he looking for Cameron Brate rather than O.J. Howard, but Cameron Brate's in the game. That's concerning. Looking at offensive snaps, O.J. Howard played 79% of the snaps, while Cameron Brate only played 44% of it. And then Anthony, whatever the heck that last name is, Leclerc, somehow managed to get 19% of the snaps. Concerning. I'm just worried that O.J. Howard, if he goes into this week and doesn't end up finding Jameis Winston listen, it's all up to Jameis. That's what it is. It's up to Jameis. So who do you want to trust in terms of quarterback? Do you want to trust a quarterback like Lamar Jackson? Do you want to trust Stafford? Do you want to trust Derek Carr or Winston? That's your question at this point. If you don't have any of the better options, I don't mind starting him. Plain and simple. That's why he's at my number 9 spot. Moving on to 10. Jared Cook. Had a rough week 1. Obviously, it's actually surprising just how many touches other guys got and opportunities other guys got instead of Jared Cook, but he should see some more implementation within this offense as the weeks go on. Drew Brees really likes throwing to the tight end position, so in time we'll find Jared Cook with a big game. But Jared Cook last season, the biggest reason why he was great was big games. The guy would have a 100-yard receiving game or 2 touchdowns, and then he'd disappear for a couple weeks. So inconsistencies are not out of the realm of possibility for the tight end position, so we shouldn't be surprised, but he should be better going forward. Moving on to 11, Austin Hooper somehow managed to be the number 1 receiving target of this team last week against the Vikings. Really not surprised. Austin Hooper should be fine, shouldn't be fantastic this week, shouldn't lead the team in receiving, but is always an option that Matt Ryan is looking for and is consistently catching balls. Not very often does it go in the direction of Austin Hooper and land on the ground or incomplete. So Austin Hooper, a great option, I think, at my number 11 spot. I don't mind him at all. Moving on to 12, the spot in which I thought about putting Vance McDonald. Number 12 is David Njoku because of the fact that the Browns will be playing against a Jets team that might not have Le'Veon Bell and might not have, for sure does not have Sam Darnold starting at the quarterback position. They have Trevor Siemian. It's going to be all Browns, and I think David Njoku as one of the top 3 receiving options on that team could have himself a good week, and that's why he's my number 12. Guys, that is it. 12 minutes of tight ends. These are the guys. Plain and simple. Yes, that is right. Plain and simple. There's nothing else need be said. These are the best options on the week. If you'd like to play Vance McDonald, I have no issue with that. But that's today's video. I want to thank everybody for watching. If you haven't yet already, click that like button. Tomorrow we'll be hitting gems. I will bring out the gauntlet. It's going to be beautiful. And we're going to talk about some players that are going to have some pretty big weeks. So thank you everybody again for watching. Hopefully you have your Thursday night lineups already set. And until probably you'll see me tomorrow. Sunday live stream in the morning for sure. And until then, thank you everybody for watching. I'll see you guys. Peace.